Hello. So Microsoft have been doing some weird stuff with their updates recently, and you can see right now it's October 28th, and in the beginning of October they released the October update, which is a kind of a major update. It's like a service pack basically with some new features and stuff, but it had some issues with it was deleting files for people and stuff like that. And then there was another update that broke my installation with the default application stuff. You couldn't change anything, so you were forced to use the Windows 10 apps. Kind of weird. So that's why I am right now on Ubuntu, and it's actually the 1810 version, and it works really fine when you actually install the NVIDIA drivers, because if I go show you this, I actually installed some extra PPA, the graphics drivers PPA, so you get more updated graphics drivers. And here you have the additional drivers, and the default settings are these Nouveau drivers, and they are super bad, especially on my computer, because when I try to install this Ubuntu 1610, I have to reinstall it at least 15-20 times, because in the middle of the installation the computer completely froze up. I couldn't use the keyboard, I couldn't use the mouse, nothing. So I had to completely power down the computer and reinstall again. And it froze on different random places. So it wasn't the installation, it's just these Nouveau drivers that are super bad. But as soon as I install these NVIDIA drivers, no problems. No freezing at all. So it works perfectly. So I don't understand why they keep doing this, having these crappy Nouveau drivers. I know these are proprietary kind of thing, and they're not really allowed to have it kind of pre-installed, but man, so many issues with the Nouveau drivers still. Yeah, otherwise nothing special. 1810 right now have the new so-called community icons for everything. It's updated. For the files, you can see I have a second file, and that's the Nemo. And I'll explain later why I have that. Yeah, so there are a bunch of new icons everywhere, and they look actually really good. And yeah, and of course I got the GNOME tweaks. I got some dash to dock. You can change the taskbar where it is and stuff. Also the application menu, so up here you got this now right instead as well, if you like that. Nothing special. I added the date, seconds and week to the clock up here. And also over here I got by default. By the way, I don't use the customized version of GNOME. I actually installed the vanilla GNOME desktop environment, and the maximize and minimize buttons in Windows are not activated by default, so you can activate them with tweak tools. Yeah, Software Center. I have some issues with this sometimes, especially when I download like a installer for some software that doesn't exist in here. And sometimes when I install that, the Software Center kind of crash and get stuck on that installer window, so to speak, and I can't access this thing. And I have to restart the computer. But most software can be installed from here, or they are here at least. You see Spotify, Discord, they are installed as well. So it's very easy. Same thing with this VLC, the media player. Just type for it and it shows up. So it's very easy, just click on it and then right now it's just installed, but just install it. So it's very easy to install things. Same thing with Spotify. Everything can be installed from here. There are of course some software that I use in Windows that doesn't have a Linux version, but I have a virtual machine. For example, I got the VirtualBox, so I got on Windows 10 machine here, so I can run some software there. And I'm not going to run Wine because it's a big derp for me. It doesn't work for me. But otherwise it kind of works. Files, I use the Nemo because I like to have this tree structure over here, because I don't like to go back and forward with these buttons here. I like to have it visible like this. But the downside with Nemo, sometimes it crashes for some weird reason, and also when I mount, for example, a USB stick, I can't unmount them. Well, I can right click on it and select unmount, but nothing happens. So that's kind of weird. So that's why I have to go into the regular Nautilus and kind of unmount it here. So yeah. And I have a Ubuntu server as well, and a file sharing a little bit just for testing, but for some reason the transfer rate is kind of bad for some reason in Ubuntu, at least on the desktop. I get maybe 50 to 60 megabytes per second maximum on a gigabit network. But when I use my Windows machine and copy files from it to it, I get 100 megabytes. So I don't know what that is about. Yeah, and I also installed a equalizer, the pulse audio equalizer, and for some reason there's no sort of icon for it or application for it, so you actually have to start it through the terminal, QPA EQ, like this. So this is quite big. If you drag it out, you get even more settings. So you set all this up, and this is system-wide, a system-wide equalizer. So every app works with it. And there's another software called Pulse Effects, but I don't think that has a lot more features as well, but I just want the equalizer. And you actually have to activate that as well. So if you go into the settings and the sound, so So normally you have this, I use my digital output, my motherboard, and here's the equalizer. If you want to use the equalizer, you just change this. And here's another kind of weird thing. If I have this activated and sort of restart the computer, the audio will automatically be on the analog output on my sound blaster card. But I use the digital output to my sound system. So it's weird. So every time I actually turn off the computer, I have to switch from this equalizer to the default settings. Kind of a weird thing, but otherwise everything works right out of the box. Yeah, Discord works, Handbrake, webcam app. I also got the Mega Sync, and people might think about the Mega Upload, the website, and that website is no more. But the same company that had the Mega Upload, they now have a thing called Mega Sync, and it's a cloud storage like the Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive. So you have this sync software that sync automatically your files to the cloud, and this Mega Sync is a lot better in some ways. First of all, you get 50 gigabyte storage for free. Google Drive have 15 gigabyte. Same thing with OneDrive, 15 gigabyte. Dropbox, I think, have like 10 gig or something like that, or 7 gig for free. But 50 gig here, and it's also the cloud storage itself is encrypted by default. And Mega Sync doesn't have the master key for that either, so that way it's good. Dropbox and Google Drive, they are not encrypted at all. So, and they also can read all your files and stuff, so that's really nice. Yeah, OBS works. It is updated, but with OBS in Linux, it doesn't have the browser source, which means that you can't have the Twitch alert or Streamlabs alerts, you know, when people follow and stuff. Kind of weird, but that's just the way it is. I haven't really tested some of the stuff. I installed some other software, video or photo editing. The Pinta is kind of simple. Let's see if I got the other one, the Krita. Supposed to be kind of like a Photoshop thing, similar to that. But yeah, otherwise I have to test it out, but so far it really works. Let's see if I can actually get what did I have. Here's the Mega Ubuntu stuff. Yeah, the same thing with this the clock in here. For some reason it also changes the clock in the BIOS, in the UEFI. So if you do a dual boot with Windows and Linux, the time will be like 2 hours off in Windows. So I actually disabled that. This is called RTC. So I disable that and use local time instead. Yeah, I have a minimized setting, so normally, for example over here, when you open up, you can't really, if you click here, you see I can minimize it very easily. and you can't do that by default. So there's settings for that. What else did I install? Known tweaks. Yes, Sublime Text. Pulse Audio, Java, of course, for Minecraft. And I have a couple of RAR files. I use WinRAR on Windows. I use RAR files because they are compressed a little bit more. But that doesn't work by default in Linux. So I have to install this unrar so I can unpack them on Linux. Nemo extensions, yes. There are a couple of extensions that doesn't really work. Top Icons Plus, for example, you should have the Mega Sync folder over here, or the icons doesn't show up. Freon, you as a temperature thing. Yeah. Otherwise, it works pretty good. I only used it for a couple of days, and it seems to be working just fine. Most important, of course, OBS and Minecraft and stuff. And of course, the printer works out of the box. Devices, printers. It's a combined scanner and printer. Works just fine. Otherwise, yeah. I will try to use this for long term. And previously I just used it for like a month, on a daily basis for a month, and I had so many issues back then, so I went back to Windows, but now it seems to be working a lot better. So I'm going to try to keep it like this and see how it works when 1904 comes out, how it works to update and stuff. But otherwise, yeah, Ubuntu 18.10. And when I record this video, Ubuntu 18.10 has been out for like a week or so, so there's a lot of repositories that haven't been updated yet. So there are some software that you have to install through repositories that doesn't work at the moment, but I guess they will be updated later on. But otherwise, yeah, Ubuntu again.